Hello, everybody. Debbie Kelly here, horticulture in Jefferson County, just south of St. Louis. And I don't know about you guys, but I am continuously getting phone calls about grants. And I know everybody is interested in grants. And so I'm really excited to introduce you to Alice Roach. She is a senior research associate with University of Missouri. And she and a few of her colleagues have put together an extension publication guides on grants. I've reviewed it and it's a great publication. So Alice, thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm happy to share about this new publication. We appreciate Debbie reviewing it. And we hope that it's helpful for all of you as you are considering grant funding opportunities. So you can access this new grants publication from the Extension website. You can go to extension.missouri.edu and search for funding agricultural business development with federal grants. And you can see that the bulk of the guide sheet is here as a HTML, but you can also download the publication as a PDF and print it or save it so you can easily go back and refer to it later, whatever works for you. But we'll go ahead and walk through the PDF today so I can show you some of the different components of the guide. So what motivated this guide was comments what Debbie just shared. People have an interest in understanding whether grants might work for them. And if they do feel like grant funding is a good fit for their businesses, then they wonder which grant opportunity will work best. And so with this particular publication, we're explaining what's typically required from the grant making process and also giving you an idea of whether grants work and then helping you to choose what grant might be best suited to your particular situation. So we begin the guide here by just introducing grants, helping you think through what's important to consider when you're choosing a program to apply to. But then most of the content here is focused on breaking down these different grant programs, both federal grant programs and state grant programs that fund business development focused activities. So I'd encourage you to spend some time on the two tables that are part of this publication. In table 1 here, we outline several federal programs that will fund business development type projects. You can see in this table, there's a side-by-side comparison, so you can choose the program that might work best for you. In the table, we list the program and the agency. All of these are USDA funded programs. It's just a matter of which sub-agency within USDA is the one administering the program. So you can learn about that here in this first column of the guide. And then you can learn more about what that particular program wants to fund in this project or program purpose column, who's eligible to apply, what types of expenses are eligible to include in a budget, and then get some understanding of what's available in terms of funding. So what's the ceiling on funding that you can request, what types of match requirements might be a part of the grant program, and so on. So spend some time looking at this table and getting familiar with the grants that are available, and then hopefully you might be able to identify an opportunity that does fit with your particular needs. The second table here outlines different state programs that are available in providing business development type funding. Here in Missouri, we have two groups that are allied, but a little bit separate, that are funding business development type work. We have the Missouri Agricultural and Small Business Development Authority, and we have the Missouri Department of Agriculture. So MASBDA will fund value-added agriculture grants, farm-to-table grants, and then here toward the middle of the guide, you can see these new Show Me Entrepreneurial Grants for Agriculture. They were just announced toward the first part of March. And this funding is categorized in different groups based on the priorities of those different funding categories. So you can see that there are technical assistant grants available that will help fund different marketing activities and hiring of consultants to support different business development priorities. $7,500 is the maximum funding for these projects, and there's a 25% cash match required. There are innovation grants that focus on expanding infrastructure that's needed to increase value-added production. So these projects will fund things like facility and equipment investments, and you can request as much as $250,000 with a 25% cash match requirement. Workforce development is another priority area. So you can seek out funding to help with employee hiring, training, or certification, and you can request as much as $5,000 with a 25% cash match requirement. And then there's a process authority fee offset that's also a part of the Show Me Entrepreneurial Grants for Agriculture program, where you can offset some of the process authority fees that you might incur for product testing and receiving a process authority letter and so forth. So if you do take a look at the guide sheet, find an opportunity that feels like it is a good fit for your particular agribusiness or farm, I'd encourage you to spend a few moments reviewing the last about 1/3 of the guide, where we're breaking down what's the proposal writing process that's typical for a grant and giving you some best practices to consider along the way. So we break this process down into 9 steps. And again, we share some tips for you to consider along the way. I want to spend a little bit of time on this first step, which is to really prioritize your funding needs. Something that's really critical whenever you're going after grant funding is knowing what it is you want to do through your business, and then deciding whether grant funding is a good fit. Having a really clear understanding of what you want to achieve will give you the best opportunity to go out and seek programs that do align with your needs, and it'll make sure that you can most efficiently use your time when you're thinking about grant funding. So that's a little about the guide sheet itself. I do want to share a few more details about some current programs that are available. So as you're looking through this guide, you can prioritize maybe looking at these particular programs to know whether they're a good fit, because they do have open calls right now and you may be able to assemble an application. So if you want to access the publication we just looked at, you can go to mizzou.us/business development grants. And as I mentioned, we do have several of these programs that are open right now, so they're actively seeking proposals. And on this particular slide, we break down what are those programs that have open calls and what are the submission deadlines for those programs. So the first 3 that are listed here are federal programs administered through the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service. The Farmers Market Promotion Program focuses on supporting groups of producers who are interested in increasing direct-to-consumer marketing. The Local Food Promotion Program funds groups of producers who are working with intermediated marketing. So in other words, you're working to sell food to an entity that's then preparing that food or selling it to another consumer group. And then the Regional Food Systems Partnership Program is really focused on systems development. So public-private partnerships focused on improving the food system and growing economic activity in a local or regional area. If you're interested in any of these programs, the submission deadline is May 2nd by about 11 p.m. our time here in the middle part of the country. So that's a good program, or all 3 of these programs are good ones to consider. And if you are interested, then you may want to be developing your grant proposal here quickly, or be putting your ideas together here quickly, because we do have that May 2nd deadline. The next open call is the Show Me Entrepreneurial Grants for Agriculture. So that's the new program that was announced earlier in March of 2023. If you're interested in applying for technical assistance, innovation, or workforce development funding, the submission deadline for those applications is April 28th by 5 p.m. If you're interested in the process authority fee offset, then that has an undefined deadline, so it will depend on demand for the program and the amount of funding available for that fee offset. So you can keep watch on the website for these grants to find a little bit more information about how long that program will be available. And all of the links, by the way, to these programs are provided in the guide sheet that I showed earlier. And then the last grant to highlight would be the Specialty Crop Block Grant. It's administered by the Missouri Department of Agriculture. The deadline is approaching very quickly, March 14th by 3 p.m. However, this is an annual program, and the call for proposals opens at about the same time every year. Typically, it's early in the year, roughly February time period, or maybe January. So if you're interested in this program, but you're not able to get a proposal put together this year, then keep it on your radar for 2024. So I want to conclude by sharing a couple of upcoming events with you that are focused on grant funding. So if you're interested in learning more, we'd be more than happy to have you join us for these webinars. They're part of the Show Me Value Added webinar series, which is a series that's launching in March 2023, and it's hosted by the Missouri Agriculture, Food, and Forestry Innovation Center. So we look forward to you joining us. You can access the registration forms for both of these webinars via the URLs that you see on the screen. So Debbie, with that, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Alice. Lots of great information here. And again, like I said, I get tons of questions from individuals asking about grants. Where can I find grants? How can I get started? The one thing I do want to comment about as a caveat is that most of these grants are going to be reimbursements back to you. So you do have to have that funding at least for those as you move through the process during the grant cycle. So it is a reimbursement. You don't get those monies up front. And that kind of holds folks back. So, but you don't have to go for the maximum amount of funding. For these different grants, you can go for much smaller amounts that are going to fit your budget. And with that, I just want to say thank you, Alice. We appreciate the hard work that you and your team has put together in doing this. It is well needed, and I know it will be well received.